us right now, as he always does on Tuesday at this time when we're lucky. It's CNBC's Larry Kudlow, of course, host of the Larry Kudlow Show right here on WMAL. Hey, Larry, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. You know, yesterday was Labor Day, and I love Labor Day because we always get to see these long treatises from places like Salon.com and the Huffington Post telling me how awful capitalism is and how organized labor got it right back in 1935. They haven't changed a bit, really, since 1935, but they got it right back then, darn it. And then you get these politicians coming out and making speeches, and Barack Obama did not let us down. Take a listen to this. This is the president yesterday.
Sometimes when I talk about this stuff to some of my folks on the other side of the aisle, they're all like, well, why are you stirring up class resentments? I'm not stirring up class resentment. The average person, they're not looking for a yacht. They're not looking for their own plane. They're not looking for a mansion. All they're looking for is that if they work hard, they can pay the bills.
I'm not stirring up class resentment.
Then it's exactly what he did.
The people who disagree with me just want a yacht and a private plane, Larry Kudlow.
It's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's also, I think, okay, I can't be sure, but I think it's a losing message, mainly because some of the blue states want minimum wage hikes, and they have them. You know, they're going to do it on their own. Federally, nationally, across the country, I don't know. You got these red state Democrats. They don't want to go into the minimum wage. Businesses are opposed to the minimum wage. Some of the most hated businesses by the left, like Walmart, already pay above the minimum wage. So I think this is pretty thin gruel. You know, I do think there's a class warfare element to this, and I do think he's going to campaign like this. I mean, you know, look at the Bank of America settlement of $17 billion. Nobody can still figure out where that number came from, where that money is going, and a lot of it's going to states run by Democrats, and a lot of it's going to community organizers like the sort of housing version of Acorn. You know, that's class warfare. The inversion battle, you know, if you reincorporate overseas, you'll pay fewer taxes, which is what shareholders want, or you keep your cash overseas, you'll pay fewer taxes. I think that's regrettable because I'd like that cash to come into the USA. But the answer is not to pile on corporations. The answer is to reform the tax code. In fact, the answer is to abolish the corporate income tax altogether. It's nothing but a big double tax, and incidentally, the people that would benefit the most are wage earners. So I think Obama's going to start this up all over again. I don't think it's going to go very far. By the way, I want to add, labor conditions have improved. In the last 6 months, we've seen better jobs numbers. We'll get a jobs report on Friday. The consensus is it's pretty good. And I just think overall, I'm looking at Politico this morning and how the Democrats are outspending Republicans, blah, blah, blah. Look, Obama has a 40% approval rating, lower than a 40%?
Right, about that.
That's a key point. I mean, that's a key point. I'm reading and I'm talking to people in Connecticut, which is where I happen to vote, and they're even talking about winning the governor's race, maybe picking up a couple of House seats. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty good Republican year. Having said that, briefly, GOP doesn't really have a strong message, does it? I mean, we're not Obama. That's kind of like their message. And when it comes to pro-growth tax reform and take-home pay and Obamacare and repealing the unpopular mandates and immigration, I've argued that they need a contract with America. That's been my argument.
Something like that, right.
You know, I talked to Rob Portman, Senator Portman, this weekend on the show. 2 weeks ago, I talked to Senator Ron Johnson. I talked to Newt Gingrich a few weeks back. They all agree, you know, a 6 or 7 point contract with America, pro-growth, good reformist message. We can govern. I think that's what's lacking, all right, on the Republican side, and I think that would really give them a booster rocket.
All right, so the president says he's not stirring up class resentment as he makes a statement that basically is aimed just at doing that very thing. His solution, it seems to be, is an increase in the minimum wage. Sounds like that's going to be the drum that he's going to beat very heavily as we go forward into the fall campaign. Is that going to resonate anywhere?
It's kind of hard to say. It may resonate in some districts, congressional districts. It may. but I don't think it's much of a national issue. It doesn't poll. I mean, if you ask people, do you want a minimum wage, you get along class lines. Lower income people say yes. Higher income people tend to say no. People that own businesses say no. So it's a mixed bag. I just don't see it as a powerful national issue. Maybe I'm wrong. I think particularly because the labor market is improving. And I think Americans understand, by the way, that the lowest rungs are going to be hurt the most. They're going to be priced out of the market and wind up losing jobs, particularly African Americans, for example. So to me, this is just so the other part of this we never talk about. I think this is the first by-election in a long time where foreign policy is really going to play a role.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
And I think President's ratings are so low there. Everything has gone wrong. He doesn't have a strategy, not only to deal with ISIS and Syria and Iraq, to deal with the Ukraine and Vladimir Putin, to deal with the Middle East, generically. I think he's got a huge problem there. And I think when you look at all this stuff, I just call it Obamaism. I think Obamaism is going to be a big theme in this election.
Larry Kudlow, we're almost out of time, but I always like to lob some funky stories to you. So let me just do this real fast. We've just heard a report that a second flight now has been diverted over passengers arguing over reclining seats and legroom. I'm guessing you travel quite a bit, Larry Kudlow, and I am shocked at how many of my friends believe that it is wrong to recline a seat on an airline after you've purchased a reclinable seat. Where do you stand on this?
I like to recline.
There you go.
I like to recline.
I'm with you on that one. Yes, sir.
You are with the recliners. Thank you. Thank you.
A nutty story.
But it is remarkable how people get passionate about this. This is why I love stories like that.
I don't think it's going to swing the Senate.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Larry.